Good evening. My name is John Michael Foulger. I'm represented by Mary Liz Management. I have been an actor just over 3 decades now. You will know me for the big screen, the small screen, stage, plenty of commercials. Rory.
Hello, I'm Rory Wilton. I'm represented by Teresa at Filmcast Cornwall Southwest. I'm a stage, film, television, radio, voiceover actor person. Yes, that's it. Emma.
Hello, I'm Emma Spurgin Hussey, otherwise known as Who, and I've been acting since the time of the 100 Years' War. And I've done lots of different things during that time. Some of them have been quite good. And, mostly at the moment, I'm doing a lot of audio books and also simulated patient work, helping medical students be nice to patients. So if you ever meet a nice doctor, you've got people like us to thank. Rachael.
Thank you. I'm Rachael Caulton. I've been a performer and actor for about 10 years, currently self-represented and doing a lot of short films, particularly horror. Apparently people want me to scare them or be scared. And I'm doing quite a bit of medical role play at the moment as well, which is always a nice challenge. Thank you. Who has not been? Sharon.
Hi, I'm Sharon Spink. I'm self-represented, been an actor for not quite 10 years, but yeah, not far off. Short films, feature films, about to start another feature film, scare acting. So if you need me for horror, I'm the scare actor. Yeah, I think that's it. Angela?
Angela Elliott, and once upon a time I was a real person, but now I'm a character in one of my own scripts. So I've been that character for a very, very long time now. It's probably time that I try
maybe a new episode.
Okay, so we're going to be reading Faery Tale by Simon Josiffe, and right, let me just get the page. Exterior loch, dawn. A beautiful Scottish scene in spring. There is the loch, a huge stretch of water, one end leading out to the sea, which is just visible through mist-covered high hills. The other end of the loch leads into the quayside, boats large and small moored up. One side of the quay has a rough single-track road edged by a thick woodland forest running alongside it, and on the other, tarmac road leading into town. There is no sound apart from the gentle lapping of water and the occasional seabird. Everything is very peaceful. Exterior Loch Road, dawn. A battered but homely-looking inn nestles next to the road. Its sign, the White Horse Hotel, is old and warm with paint peeling off it. A Land Rover goes roaring past the sign, making it shudder. The driver is Jamie Calderbank, late 30s, handsome and rugged, but currently looking wild and exhausted. He's crying. Interior White Horse, dawn. A large, friendly place that looks like it originally was an inn, not a converted warehouse. It has comfortable-looking lounge bar, armchairs and sofas, and then much larger saloon bar with tables, chairs, raised stage area at one end, and next to it a jukebox. Around the stage are framed photos of the bands and lineups, all from the 70s and early 80s. Between the bars, a wide staircase leading up to the guest bedrooms. But it has definitely seen better days. The banquettes are in need of repair, the tables scratched, and the decor seems to have frozen somewhere around the mid-1980s. However, everything is clean, the floors swept, and by the main entrance, postcards and maps, White Horse gifts, key rings, etc. neatly arranged. Margaret, early 50s landlady, is up early, already cleaning behind the counter. In a neat tracksuit, pixie bob haircut, and designer glasses, she could pass for 10 years younger, but there are lines of strain on her face that show she's lived a life that's not always been easy. She crosses over to the jukebox. She starts to select I Want to Be Adored by the Stone Roses. When she hears the Land Rover whiz by outside, she goes to the window. Interior grotto, a hidden cave. In the centre is a large pool. Scattered around are clothes, a battered acoustic guitar, a seaman's chest, and in one corner a motorbike covered in tarpaulin. Incongruously, a beautiful and ornate mirror hangs from one wall. A woman lies asleep, face up by the pool. She is tall and healthy looking, broad shoulders and tan skin. She could be in her late 30s or early 40s. This is Bradana. Her long red hair, lank and unwashed, trails down over her face, while her jeans and t-shirt do not look the cleanest. A half-empty bottle of Jack Daniels lies next to her. Exterior Loch Road dawn, the Land Rover rockets along an increasingly narrow road, shaking up rocks as it goes. Jamie swigs from a bottle of whiskey and cackles to himself, his eyes red with crying. The Land Rover veers towards the edge of the road. Interior grotto, Bradana's face, her eyes snap open.
Oh, shh!
She leaps up and grabs a leather jacket, puts it on and dives into the pool. Exterior beach, early morning, Bradana comes running out of the cave straight onto the beach. She is still wet, but water just seems to run straight off her. She sees the Land Rover on the other side of the loch. She slaps her hands together, fairy lights twinkle all over her, and she disappears, only to appear about 6 inches further down the beach. She tries again, disappears again, and appears about a yard further on. She coughs and wheezes with the effort. Once she has her breath back, she dives straight into the loch. Exterior, interior, Loch Road, car, early morning. Jamie's Land Rover is ricocheting along the road, wobbling from side to side. One wheel goes over the side and he just about gets back on the road, not that he cares. His eyes fixed on the sea ahead. Exterior, loch, early morning. Bradana's head breaks the surface. She gets a fix on Jamie's Land Rover and ducks back under the surface again. She powers through the water like a seal or dolphin, leaving a strong wake in her trail. She's so fast she almost catches up with the Land Rover. She sticks up her head out of the water again. Interior car, early morning. Jamie hears Bradana's voice in his head.
Jamie! Jamie Calderbank! Stop!
He shakes his head in confusion and drives on. Exterior roadside, early morning. Bradana scrambles up onto the shore. She has forgotten to put on her shoes and she's clambering up a lot of stones.
Ow! Ow!
She starts to climb up the bank to the road. Loch Road, car, early morning. Jamie races along, emerging in a slightly wider area where the trees have been cut back, so he is in less danger of coming off. But we can now see where he is heading, a distant precipice of rock jutting out towards the sea. Exterior roadside, early morning. Bradana sees the Land Rover rush by. It's coming up to a wooden barrier with a big warning sign on it. Exterior, interior, Loch Road, car, morning. Jamie smashes through the barrier and is now careering up the road towards the precipice. Suddenly, the car is jolted from the loch side off the road. In his wing mirror, Jamie sees a large white horse bashing into his Land Rover.
Pull over, you silly bastard!
For the first time, Jamie hesitates about what he's doing. The precipice is now 10 feet away. With one last mighty bash, the horse smashes its head into the Land Rover. The car swerves into a small track leading through the wood and stalls to a stop. Jamie is thrown forward and bangs his head on the dashboard. Exterior, clearing morning, continuous. The Land Rover jammed into a bush. Jamie slowly recovering. Next to the car, Bradana, now fully human, is wheezing and trying to get her breath back while also holding her head. Jamie gets slowly out of the car.
Bradana, what are you doing here?
She can't speak, just makes whooping noises and points at him, the car and then the loch.
What?
I was trying to save your life, you nugget. What were you trying to do? Kill yourself?
Yes. You said I should.
No, I didn't. I really did not. And if anyone asks you, you've got to say really clearly and carefully that I didn't.
You said I should go and find my wife.
Yeah, find. Not do an impression of Jack Cousteau without an aqualung.
Susanna.
Oh, she'll turn up. Probably just wanted a spa break or a night out with the girls or something.
No. She...
Oh, don't do that. Don't... There. There. Or something.
Exterior track morning. A small mud-stained car is tearing up the road towards them. Exterior clearing morning. Bradana standing awkwardly over a slumped Jamie.
Who's this now?
The car screeches to a halt and out gets Cara Calderbank. Mid-20s, small and slim, maybe even a little bookish, but right now she's taut with anxiety as she approaches.
See? It's your missus. I told you she'd turn up. Oh, if this is your missus, then I'm out here.
She puts her hand on Jamie's head and it glows very briefly, then runs to the edge of the road and dives into the loch. She is shielded by the Land Rover, so Cara doesn't see her. Jamie just looks around bewildered. Credit sequence, the lock in the mist, the quayside with a small fishing boat just coming in, a market square crammed with stalls and people, all of whom seem to know each other. Bradana, proud and noble, standing on a hill overlooking the loch from a hillside, the wind blowing through her hair as she surveys her domain. The wind blows her hair across her face and she hurriedly has to readjust it so she can get back to looking proud and noble. Exterior High Street day. Invercovey is a mix of small fishing town and tourist location. Fishmongers and greengrocers sit next to postcard and ice cream shops. There is a supermarket, an internet cafe and bookies, but Starbucks and McDonald's haven't reached here yet. The high street is busy with local shopping and tourists with their guidebooks and selfie sticks. Bradana seems to be always dodging through a crowd, her size not helping. A teenager bumps into her, his head focused on his mobile. He glares up at her, she glowers back, and he hurriedly moves on. In a voiceover, we hear Bradana have a telepathic conversation with Mother, her fairy guardian. Mother has a kindly voice of a Scottish lady in her late 60s.
What is the matter with them, Mother?
They're young, Bradana. You have to make allowances.
Why?
She passes 3 youths on a bench, drinking from cans and laughing at images on their phones. One of them throws his can onto the ground. Though there is a bin right next to him, Bradana stares at them. One of them grins at her cheekily.
All right, Mum. Seen anything you fancy? We do discounts for pensioners.
All others laugh at his wit. Bradana makes a vague gesture with her hand and the bench suddenly tips forward, throwing them all to the pavement, collapses. I saw that.
What? Oh, I didn't do them any real damage. Not like I could have done.
Interior supermarket day. Bradana is in the queue for the cigarette counter. A hassled mum is trying to do a deal with a spoiled child near a shelf of sweets. The spoiled child starts wailing and crying. Other shoppers look on with either weary recognition or indifference. Bradana, however, is visibly wincing in pain.
Is she going to do something? If she doesn't, I swear I'll...
You'll do nothing.
Oh, 7 hells with this.
In frustration, she walks out. Exterior supermarket car park day. More kids here being strapped into car seats, unstrapped from car seats, or just generally running around.
Why do they do it? Make little copies of themselves. They're all small and screaming and spoiled. And then they grow up and they turn into those ghouls over there. And we're supposed to look after them.
Now, more than ever, we are needed.
Oh, you're fooling yourself, Grandma. We're about as relevant as the penny farthing.
A little boy is running along chasing a seagull. A large 4x4 is starting to reverse very near him. Bradana jumps forward, puts her hand on the back of the 4x4 as we hear the squeal of wheels as she easily stops it. A worried mum comes running over and grabs the little boy, not a word to Bradana.
No? Don't worry about it. Not a problem.
Hey, you touched my car.
I'll have your brakes checked, pal. Your insurance cover running over little kids. Tell me again why I do this.
I do not need to tell you. Interior cafe day. Bradana walks in, recoils and almost leaves immediately. 3 women, Lorna, Kathy, both early 20s, and Maura, late 20s, are sitting down, crowded around Maura's 6-week-old baby. The cafe owner, Mario, has joined them as well, and they coo over the newborn.
Hey, brah, come and meet the new arrival.
Hi.
Come and have a seat, brah.
Oh, I only popped in for a packet of fags.
Aye, come on and say hello to Ferdinand.
No, honestly,
Oh, come on.
Would you like to hold him?
no, you're all right.
Oh, what's she like? Go on.
No, really.
Maura is already on her feet and thrusting the baby at her, so Bradana has no choice but to take him. She holds the baby like an unexploded bomb. 2 weeks late, little beggar, but I love him to bits. The baby starts to cry. The women all laugh.
Oh, he's got some lungs on him.
I really think you should. I'm not good with kids, all right?
Slightly offended, Maura takes the baby back. As she does, tiny teardrops drip down to Bradana's bare hand. They start to redden.
Ah,
Brah, you're smarting.
yeah, I know.
Are you ill? Is it contagious?
No, your wee boy's fine. It's just me who's in considerable pain. It's just me who's in considerable pain. it's a condition I've got. So thanks for that. But glad it's born and alive and stuff.
Would you be paying this time, Bradana, with actual cash money, or one of these cars I hear are very popular these days, or a mobile phone device even?
Yeah, absolutely. Next time. Sorry, got to run.
Who is that woman? And that appears to be the end of our extract. Okay. John.
I'm actually very intrigued by it. I love anything to do with the Fae folk anyway. But please do not take this the wrong way at all. Unfortunately, at the moment, it reads more like a book than a script. It needs to be tidied up and tightened up. But I think it has potential, yes.
Okay, thank you. Sharon.
I agree. It does read like a book. It's like a fairy story almost. And same as John, I like anything to do with fairy folk and fays and things. But yeah, it's an interesting story. I want to know more about Bradana. Who is she? Why is she, able to why is she wandering around this village? What is she doing? Is she looking after the people that's there or whatever? But yeah, way too much like stage direction, and not dialogue. Not enough dialogue and things. Yeah, I want to see, not be told as well. But really condense the actual like stage direction as such down, and watch out for spelling mistakes because there are odd little ones, not many typos and things in there as well.
Okay. Emma.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought it was quite novelistic to start with. I also am very fond of folk tales. So, yeah, I think there's certainly enough there to be intriguing and to make me think, I'd be interested to know what happens next. So that's always a good thing. Yeah, I think there's just too much description of people's appearances because you can't always control that as a writer. You have very little control, and just, I would say, condense it down to what's really important about them, what's essential. I liked I liked the idea of there being a sort of tough ethereal character. She's a little bit like that funny woman in Doctor Sleep who was going around all the time. Do you remember that character?
Oh yes, yeah.
That kind of a person. Yeah, I thought that was and I think she's probably a kelpie. That's what I think, because she turned into a horse, didn't she? Which he saw rather than felt collide with his car, which I thought was slightly odd, because I think probably you'd notice the impact, wouldn't you, of something big like that. Let's see what else. I'm thinking about Bradana and Mother. It's kind of interesting that they're these sort of guardians of us, I suppose. But I'm just thinking, do you ever read your work aloud? Because I think it's really important for writers, especially people who are doing drama of whatever kind, for actors to speak, to read it aloud, because I notice this with audiobooks, often there are really long sentences with no punctuation, for example. Often characters sound quite like each other. And I'm just thinking about the tone, because Bradana's obviously got quite a workaday language, like a person from here, like she fits in. But Mother is different. I'm just thinking, if you were just to read those bits out, do they sound, what's the sort of difference? Is it that Mother is a long time ago and she talks more like the age of, the age of fable? Or I'm just kind of thinking about, is a common kinship sort of language with them, or are they just very separated, like a magical person and an ordinary person? I'm just thinking, be really clear about what they're for, and why, and when they're one thing and when they're the other. Is Bradana more involved in the human plane than the Mother, for example? Very, very droll after the play we've just been reading that some character is abbreviated to bra, which is quite amusing. Yeah, I'm not quite sure where this is going, obviously, and how it fits with the rest of the story. Whether you, have things which are more magic-y or more everyday, or whether it's always crossing over. I mean, it's quite nice where there are things where, she touches him on the shoulder and there are kind of little lights and things like that. The kind of meeting of the magic world and the everyday world. And I think that there's something that's quite interesting in that. I mean, I think, you know, there's beauty in there potentially with your you know, your landscape, if you're able to get the landscape you're envisaging to work in. Picturesque setting and the possibility of humor, I think, as well. Although, you know, you could perhaps draw that out some more and contrast it with, I think there's going to be poignancy and pain in it as well, because you know, he's upset, this Jamie, and you know, yeah, there's I guess heartbreak and lots of strangeness in it. So yeah, I am intrigued and would, you know, would like to see how it plays out.
Yeah, same sort of comments as everybody else, that sort of it's a bit too book-like to start off with. I think it's got a great premise to it. I very clearly visually imagined it as we were reading through. Yeah, I think it's got great potential. I think it's got potential legs. I can imagine something like Disney would pick this up. That sort of teleseries thing. Yeah, I think yeah, listen to the advice that Andrew is certainly going to give you, and yeah, keep going, because I think it's got a lot of potential. But avoid it becoming a Scottish She-Hulk. I think that's my only kind of yeah, crit there is just beware that, because that's already been done. Okay, that's me finished.
Rachael?
It did it reminded me of She-Hulk as well, actually, at points. But yeah, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, as long as there's some difference between them, I suppose. Yeah, no, I'm really intrigued as well. I agree with what other people have said. I like the whole thing of sort of magic not necessarily working how you want it to initially. I think that's nice, and I think that connects us as humans, because we can see that, oh, these magic people still make mistakes and whatever. There's a bit of relatability there, which is nice. Yeah, no, I'm intrigued. I also think it's got potential. I'd love to see where it goes.
Thank you. Is it me? Oh, I was making lots of notes. I wanted to know if this was the Highlands or the Lowlands. I'm assuming it's the Highlands. They're very different. So if this is the Highlands, I think you need to really signify that it's the Highlands. Also, your first page is way too much description on here, and the second, in fact, there's way too much description, full stop. And that's because it does read like a novel, and it's great if you want it to be a novel, or if it's come from a novel, but it needs to be much tighter. And I'm thinking in terms of, my note here to me was, the more you specify, the harder the sell and the shoot. So if you specify certain things, it's going to be very hard to sell that on those things, because it's much harder to you know, it's more expensive, essentially. The more you specify, it's got to look like this, it's got to be doing this, it's got to be doing that, it's just going to be harder. So the more you can give people an idea in their head so that they can fill in the gaps with their imagination, the better. So I actually just sat here while Rachael was doing her bit and wrote what your first page should be, because what I think you should be doing is, you're setting her up and you're setting Jamie up, and that's lovely, and there's nothing wrong with that, and you've set up the landlady, but do you really need to do that? Your pre-credits, your pre-title credits, because you've indicated you want the credits to come in at a certain point, what you really need to be doing is having Jamie driving his bloody Land Rover, hell for leather, down that road by the side of the loch. Oh my God, what's going to happen? We see Bradana racing out of the water. We don't know who she is or what she is at that point. As she races up out of the water after the lock, after the car, she's morphing into a horse. Because at no point do you say she becomes the horse until after she's become it. And that's no good. So what I actually wrote was, Highlands in spring, vast sea loch, bounded by a road, boats in a marina, an old inn in the distance, Land Rover roars past at speed, Bradana runs out of the loch, water pouring off her. As she runs after the Land Rover, she morphs into a horse. Interior car, Jamie, and then you can go into Jamie, look panic stricken and, oh my God, I'm going to kill myself. So that's really making us go, oh my God, what's happening here? And by that time, we've already logged that Bradana's not human. She's become a horse. And so we're hooked into it. We're hooked into her and we're hooked into what's going to happen. I don't think you need any dialogue until the point at all in that piece. You can still have the wife turn up and you can still have her go, oops, you know, and run off. That leaves us with a, okay, what's that all about? For later. Okay. That's a real great hook then. Be careful about the references you used. You used a reference to Jacques Cousteau. Very few people remember who Jacques Cousteau is. Died quite a long time ago. Kind of ages you, unless you're very young and you're really into all of this stuff. It kind of ages you. You have to think about who are the people that are going to be reading this. They're all much younger than most of us. And they're not necessarily going to get the references. What else did I say? Again, your descriptions of characters, there's way too much. It literally needs, I mean, I just wrote one down for Margaret. Margaret, sum her up in 1 or 2 words. Margaret, 50s landlady, careworn. I mean, it's allowing people to fill in the gaps themselves and to give the director and the crew and the production team their thing to do. And also then they can accurately budget as well. Because as I said, if you give them too much information and too much detail, it's going to start looking expensive. That was it. That was all my comments. I'm very intrigued to know what happens though. Hope that helps.